Hello everyone, welcome to Ron Spomer Outdoors. So, recently someone wrote me and asked about the Sauer 100 and if I'd ever cover it. And I thought, I've already covered that, but it was a long time ago. And I got to thinking, exactly what was that and where is that video? So I scrounged around and found it on Ron Spomer Outdoors TV and thought I would bring it back and look at it again and see what I do and do not remember about it. Now, Sauer has been making rifles for, 270 years, I believe. They got started way back in something like 1750. So they have been around a long time, and they make some really well-built, as usual with German manufacturers, solid bolt-action rifles. And they have some modern designs here in the last 20 years anyway. And the model 404, the 303 is an autoloader. There's the 101 and there's the 100. And I'm having trouble remembering the difference between the 101 action and the 100 action. Both bolt actions, trying to remember if they were straight pull or turn bolt. I believe they're turn bolt, but at any rate, this is why I dredged up this old video just to check it out, because I'm confident it was the 100. And yes, that is the title of this. The Sauer 100 shoots half-inch for less. And now I remember my wife was there shooting it with me. We were on a shooting range in Western Idaho, and the thing was grouping really well. I don't remember that I ever made a hunt with it, but let's watch this video. Maybe I do have some clips in here of hunting with it. I know this sounds probably pretty wild to you guys that I can't remember a hunt. I've been on so many hunts that I can't remember. Yeah, probably true. It was a job, and I loved it. Okay. Maybe we took it to Scotland. That might have been a 101. I think we may have taken that rifle on a hunt for red stag in Scotland. Let's just see if it's in this video. If not, later on we can search for that Scottish hunt. Maybe we can find it there. But as I remember, it was a darned accurate, solid little rifle. Let's just see how this thing plays and if I'm remembering things correctly. Sauer 100 shoots half-inch for less. Oh yes, that's it. It's a turn bolt. Looks like I shot it in more than one location. When I first saw Sauer's Model 100, I thought it was the 101. It looks pretty similar, but it is a completely different action. Some similarities there, but let's look. I haven't shot this thing yet. Obviously, I haven't put a scope on it. I just want to investigate it. So we've got another 60-degree bolt lift here. Remove that bolt, and I see it's a full diameter bolt, just like on the 101, but it has 3 big lugs instead of 6. It does have 2 ejectors in the front. The extractor hook is set inside of one of the lugs, just like on the 101. But I see some differences here with the safety. Now, I need to make a comment here on this full diameter bolt. If you are of a certain age, you remember the Mauser style rifles. I mean, that's pretty much everybody who shot a bolt action rifle from 1898 onward were mostly shooting a style that included a relatively narrow bolt and then some larger locking lugs up front, usually 2. But then sometimes 3, and then Weatherby went to a whole bunch of them, like 6 and 9, smaller ones. But the upshot was you had a narrower bolt than you did the lugs, and you needed a raceway for those lugs to travel in and then lock into position. And it created a bit of bolt wobble, because the bolt body itself, especially on the longer actions, wasn't really supported by anything. It was all riding on those lugs up front, not the bolt body. This style with the full diameter bolt, the bolt itself is riding in the receiver rings. So it's usually a lot smoother. And then you've got your locking lugs up front of the same diameter to lock into the recesses at the back of the barrel or the receiver. And the bolt release button is off here on the left side. Okay, so the safe has got 3 positions. First position, doesn't fire, bolt's locked. Second position, Doesn't fire, bolt lifts. Ah, nice. 3-position safety. Forward, fire. Great.
Now, a lot of folks don't understand this 3-position safety idea, but I just demonstrated it there. In that middle position, you can operate the bolt to take your round out of the magazine without the safety being completely disengaged, so it's a little bit safer. Some people make a big deal about that. Some just say, I'll just point your barrel in a safe direction and don't worry about it. But accidents have happened with rifles that don't do that. People have to push it off safe and onto fire, and then lift the bolt and pull the round out. And in some cases, they're fumbling around, or maybe they've got a heavy cuff on their coat and it hits the trigger and sets it off. So just a little safety feature that's kind of nice. I like the 3-position safeties.
I like that. Ah, and there's a little red cocking indicator comes out the back of the bolt to tell you you're cocked. Good, that's a nice little system. All right, now we're going to have to take this thing apart to see what else it does, although we could find out what sort of a magazine it has. And there's your classic dropout nylon or polymer box magazine. And I like those. That looks like it's real similar to the one they use on the 101.
Now, I see something here, guys. Look on that magazine box while I'm rotating it, and you'll see there's a large block, and that's literally what it is. This action is standard length 30-06 270, the standard length action rifles. But this one is chambered, I believe, for a 308 Winchester, which is shorter, half-inch shorter action. So instead of making a actual short action, they're sticking with that long action and just putting a block in the magazine to better hold the shorter rounds. So if you've got one in a 308 or a 243 or a 260 or 6.5 Creedmoor, whatever they're making, that's what you're getting. So it's a little bit confusing for some guys, or they probably don't even recognize this. They think they're getting a short action rifle when they buy a 308, but you're not getting the advantage of a shorter receiver and a shorter rifle. You're just shooting a shorter cartridge. Little bit of a drawback there. I think it's important for us to understand that. Now, this is not the only rifle that does that. Winchester was doing it way back in the 70s and the 60s and probably even in the 50s. Yeah, they probably started when the 308 Winchester came out, 1952, 53, and then in 55 with the 243 Winchester. They put those in their standard model 70 with the 30-06 length action and just put a block in the magazine well to handle the shorter cartridges. So that's an important thing to know. What I'm doing right here is leveling the reticle, the crosshairs. And you can see that little white thing attached to the rifle with a rubber band. That's a scope leveler, and it's just 2 flags that stand up, and it has vertical or horizontal lines on it. And you get that level with the base on the rings, and then it's flat to the rings. So you just turn your scope until your reticle, horizontal reticle, is level with the lines on those 2 flags on either side. It's fairly simple, and it's an eyeball system, but it seems to work pretty darn well. I use that a lot.
What have I got here? It's the Norma 165 grain Oryx load. That is a good, dependable bullet. That's good. Dropped it right in there. Now let's see if we can get a partner to agree with it. Boy, it looks like it's right in there. Well, so far, this Sauer 100 is impressing me. I've only shot 2 groups with it, but that last group looks like it's just under an inch. And boy, I think we're going to have ourselves a shooter here. Now, Elizabeth was shooting the Sauer 101 and was really impressive. This is hanging right in there, and it's a less expensive rifle.
That's why I'm confusing this 100 and 101. During the same filming, Betsy was shooting the 101. We had both of them at the same time. That's why I was a little confused.
Heat seated into the receiver instead of screwed in, and the lugs on this bolt lock into the barrel itself. I think that's what helps a lot with the accuracy. And obviously, they know how to make barrels to shoot that well with factory ammunition. I'm going to shoot a bunch more groups with this, but I think we've got ourselves a shooter. Sauer 100, pretty impressive rifle. Boy, it really kicks out those empties too. Inside of an inch again. This is impressive. By golly, that might be about a 1-inch group. So check that one out. Now this is really interesting. My wife shot this group with her Sauer 101 Artemis 308 Winchester. That is an impressive group. But I, with this less expensive Sauer 100 with the synthetic stock, just shot this group. And they're practically all touching. That's a 1/2 inch or less. That's probably a 1/4 inch. These are just impressive rifles. Sauer, a German rifle, and it appears they really know how to make it well. That is put together. Sauer.
Now you're looking at all those other holes in the paper thinking, how long did it take him to get one good group? Those are from a different test. We were shooting several rifles that day. I remember one was the 6.5 Creedmoor. So some of those shots are sighting shots and some are sampling different ammunition with different rifles and everything. Somebody, if I remember right, when that first came out, and gosh, that's got to be 8 years ago, complained about it and said, hey, what kind of a shot are you? Those holes all over that paper. Guys, when you're shooting for groups and you've got a rifle that's already doing pretty well, you're shooting minute of angle or so, on a big sheet like that, a big target, you can shoot at several different aiming points and get different groups. You just have to, I usually mark on them which is which, but I can get a lot of groups on one sheet of paper by spreading them around.
100. And the Leica scope is doing pretty darn well too. The ER5, it's extremely bright. I can see every little line on that target. Man, this is just a nice system. I'm not crazy about a 308 Winchester, but a rifle that shoots like that, I'll take it.
No big surprise there, right, guys? Way back then, I was already against the 308 Winchester. No, it's as you know, it is a great all-purpose round. I like to poke you guys who love it so much. And I have hunted with it quite often. And now that I'm thinking about this, I'm pretty sure that we did take this setup over to Scotland, and Betsy took a nice red stag with it. That was a fun hunt, but rained, predictably rained like crazy because she was shooting in the rain. I can remember how that was drenching us. But gosh, fascinating country. It is a lot wilder than I thought it was going to be. Reminded me a lot of Alaska tundra country up there in those, well, all the trees. I guess they used to have big forests up in Scotland and they cut them all down and ran sheep in that country. So you see a lot of heather and gorse. I'm not sure what they all call it, but it's really surprisingly open country. They are reforesting and they're really doing good management of their red stags. We were hunting with Neil Rowantree, and that gentleman really knows his natural history. It is so fun to hunt with someone like that. He not only knows guns and shooting and ballistics and trajectory and optics and all the rest of the hunting gear, but he knows the wildlife and the plants that they live on and why they do what they do and the history of the area. It's just fascinating to hang with a guy like that for several days and ask him questions, because pretty much anything you ask, he has the answer. And it's really refreshing to have a guide and outfitter like that. So I might look for that old video too. Haven't seen that one for a long, long time. But Sauer rifles were shooting quite well.
You know, a day on the range
look
with
at
a
that
rifle
100.
like this is a darn good day. If you want to see and learn more about rifles and shooting and ammunition and the outdoors and hunting, visit me at ronspomeroutdoors.com. Keep tuning into YouTube for more videos on how all this stuff works. Thanks for watching.
Got my plug in. Yeah, that was it. Not too bad. I'm glad I saw that again. I had forgotten exactly how that rifle was built, put together, but that's, I think, their starter rifle from Sauer. Polymer stock or molded stock. It was fairly stiff. It wasn't one of those flexible ones. Pretty high quality for black plastic stocks, which I'm not a big fan of, but boy, it sure shot. And the price was right. I forgot exactly what they went for in those days or what they go for now, but I think it's a step down from the 101. And I'd have to look at the 101 video to remember exactly what the differences are. Didn't seem like they were substantial. More of a cost shaving to make the little bit less expensive Sauer 100. So if you're looking for a good buy on a German-made rifle, you might want to check out that Sauer 100. You don't see a lot of them over here, but boy, I sure wouldn't complain about the kind of performance we were getting out of that one. Hey, this is Ron Spomer. Thanks for joining me on this look back. If you are enjoying these reviews of my reviews, let me know, and we'll do some more of those. If you don't like them, we'll go do something else. In the meantime, on Honest and Shoot Straight.